Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial on creating an advanced platformer in GameMaker Studio 2. In this video, we're going to be going over creating our Jetpack fuel system and make sure we make it as customizable as possible to edit features in the future and add our stat system later on where we can upgrade certain stats to change the way our character moves around or the fire rate of his weapons or maybe how much damage he does. So the first thing I want to do is if we run my game right now, I don't know if yours is like this, but if it is, I'll show you how to fix it. And I fire, you can see this trail behind the bullet. It's because the bullet is so long that it's actually being initialized and part of the bullet is behind the player. So I'm going to delete a few pixels off of my bullet for now. So I'm going to go into my sprite. I'm going to go into my bullet sprite. And then I'm going to double click it, click my eraser, set my brush size to 4, and I'm going to erase 3 pixels. I'll leave it like that for now. That should be better. And then I'm going to run my game again. And I'm still getting a little bit, but it's not a huge deal right now. I'll fix it later. But I do want to edit it a little more. I want to try something. I know this isn't in the scope of the video, but I want to try white, like more white for the front of the bullet. I'll go ahead and erase 1 more pixel too and see how that fares. Okay, let's see. All right, it's still happening a little bit. We'll fix it. Let me know if yours is doing the same thing and I'll make a new way to do it. And I like that white on the bullet. I think I might change the bullet to like a blue or something later on. I don't know yet. All right, anyways, let's get to the jetpacking. Okay. So I'm going to close all my windows out, start fresh here. Alrighty. So the first thing we need to do is initialize a few variables. So what is our jetpacking system? Well, we're going to have a max fuel level. And when we're jetpacking, it's going to decrease our fuel level. And we're going to have an auto generate fuel, so we don't have to pick up like pickups to get more fuel, but when we land, it'll generate our fuel back. So the first thing we're going to do is go into our game controller script, our initialize game controller, and we're going to set our max fuel rate. Remember, I put variables in here so that when we do saving and loading, the game controller is in charge of loading all these variables and then distributing it out to the different objects. So let's go ahead and do player max fuel level. Or let's just do player max fuel. That's fine. And let's set it to 50 by default for now. Let me go ahead and do this. Okay. All right, and let's set a couple more variables. Let's go ahead and set, should we do this inside the player's script? No, we'll go ahead and do it here. Let's set our fuel loss rate. So let's do player fuel loss rate. I'm just going to do 0.5 for now. And this is how much, while we're jetpacking, is going to be depleted out of our max fuel for every step. So I'm using 0.5. And let's do player fuel charge rate. This is going to be the rate at which our fuel level recharges. I'm just going to use double our player fuel loss rate. And I'm going to go ahead and comment. I'll just leave it like this for now. All right, so those are the variables that we need. I'm going to go ahead and leave this open. And then we're going to have to go into our states. So when do we want our fuel level to be depleted? Well, we want it to start depleting while we're in the jetpacking state. Because if we're in the jetpacking state, that means we're holding the down key. So let's go ahead and go into our jetpacking state. I'm going to drag it over here to open it into the same window. I'm going to maximize, and I'm going to increase my font size for you guys. Alrighty. So, okay, so let's read what we already have. We have apply our jetpack force when our Y speed is not maxed out. If Y speed is not maxed out, then we want to go up. All right, so yeah, that's fine. But what other way could we get into the falling state without releasing our jump key now? Well, what if our fuel level hits 0? We should go into our falling state, correct? We shouldn't be jetpacking anymore. We should start falling. So we can do an or statement here. We could do if keyboard check released, if we release our jump key, or our, well, we didn't set our variables here yet. We're going to name it, let's say current fuel is less than or equal to 0. We haven't created this variable yet, but we're about to. So I went with current fuel as the variable name here. And let's go ahead and open up our player initialize script, scr_initialize player. I'm just going to drag it up. And now we need to grab our jetpack variables. So I'm just commenting that. And so now we have current fuel. This is on the create event. Equals global, or not global, O game controller dot. We'll go ahead and initialize our fuel to the max level. So we'll use max player max fuel is the variable name. It's right here in the drop down. Okay. And now we need our max fuel. So we'll just call it max fuel equals O game controller dot player max fuel, same variable. Okay. And let's go ahead and grab our depletion rate. What do we name it? Fuel loss rate and fuel charge rate. Let's go ahead and grab those variables. So fuel loss rate equals O game controller dot fuel loss rate. And let's grab our fuel charge rate. And I didn't use the right variable again. So we're going to use O game controller dot player fuel charge rate. Remember, what if we have other enemies or something that have jetpacks? We could use similar variable names, but we would use enemy fuel charge rate instead. So that's why I'm using player in front of these. And I had to change the previous one to player also. So make sure this matches. Go ahead and pause it if you need to. 3, 2, 1. All right. So we have our fuel loss rate, fuel charge rate, max fuel, and current fuel. Alrighty. So if we're jetpacking, we just need to be depleting fuel. So all we have to do is if current fuel is greater than 0. Let's do current jet fuel minus equal. Wait, current, I think we just use current fuel minus equals fuel loss rate. That's right. Okay, so let's go ahead and comment that in. As long as we are in jetpacking state, we are decreasing fuel. Okay, so where's the other place that we can come from, come into the jetpacking state from? Well, it's the falling state. So as we are falling, I want to start increasing the jet fuel back up, even if we're mid-air. And I'll show you what this looks like in game in a moment. But so let's go ahead and go to our falling state and drag it up. And what do we need to do here? Well, we could say and if up key down and jet fuel current fuel is greater than 10. So if we get depleted to 0 and it rises again to 10 while we're midair, it'll reinitiate. I mean, we'll deplete that fuel pretty quickly, but it'll kind of like allow us to bounce down almost. It's a pretty cool effect. Stealing kind of, if you play Overwatch and you play Pharah, her jetpacking system feels pretty good. So I'm actually taking a lot of inspiration from that and putting it into a 2D sense. And hopefully this feels kind of like that when we're done. So where do we need to start depleting our current fuel? Well, always, right? So actually I'm going to use, where do we want to do this? I guess we'll do it in our update player movement code. It's it's kind of funky place to put it, but it is movement, so it's part of the script. What we might do later on is actually all this code we might put in a separate script, the X and Y application, but for now, let's go ahead and write our jetpacking code. So let's do handle increasing jet fuel when not jetpacking. So this will do exactly what I just said it would do. It'll increase our fuel while we are not in the jetpacking state anymore. So if we're falling, if we're on the ground, our jet fuel is going to be increasing. But we want to cap it, right? So we use if current fuel is less than or equal to max fuel, then we will increase our current fuel. So current fuel plus equal fuel charge rate. Isn't that what we named it? Yep, fuel charge rate. And actually, we don't need these brackets. Let's kind of start doing this a little bit every now and then. And we also need to check if our vert state is not jetpacking. So what we can do, let's cut this out and let's do and, oh, how'd I get 4 ands there? And then we can use vert state not equal vertical state dot jetpacking. So we're doing if our current fuel is less than or equal to max fuel, so we're capping how high it can go, and our vert state is not falling, because remember, if we're falling, wait, did I do that wrong? It should be jetpacking. For jetpacking, we're going to be decreasing our fuel. If we're falling or anything else, we're going to be increasing our fuel. Alrighty, and let's go ahead and run it because I'm kind of lost at where I'm at. And like I said, this is kind of everywhere. That's why I wanted to make sure everyone knew what the code was doing. So let's see. All right, there it is. That's it, guys. We're going to go ahead and quickly implement a little health bar, or not a health bar, but a bar that you can see your current jetpack, your jet fuel. So you guys can mess with the values of it and kind of see what's happening with your charge rate, your reduction rate. And I want to know if you guys come up with a better system, or come up with better numbers. But remember, we don't want to allow the player to stay in the air forever. So if he were to let go of the button and kind of charge back up, we don't want him to be able to keep flying up forever. So that's why this looks really good, because you can let go and try to recharge, but there's no way to go back up once you start going down. And that's a very important part of this. Number 2 is we want the player to start out without very much jetpack usage. This is one of those things that keeps the player wanting to come back and play, because they want to upgrade their jetpack and maybe get to new areas. Let's say like at the top here, maybe where you couldn't reach. We can kind of reach everywhere right now. That's why we need to decrease our fuel level. But let's say we had a spot up here that you couldn't get to. Well, when you level up, you're going to have to choose, do I want more weapon power? Do I want to be able to get to these new spots in the levels? Like, so you kind of have to make a trade-off, and we could have like secret areas with special power-ups and stuff. So really think about that when you're messing with the fuel levels, and we're going to think about where we want the player to start at the start of the game, how much fuel he has, and that kind of thing. So let's go ahead and implement our little bar up here real quick. It's not hard at all, but we are going to make a new object. So I'm going to close everything out, minimize my folders to clean it up, and I'm going to create a new object under the controllers group, and I'm going to name it O-Draw, wait, not O-Draw, yeah, let's go ahead and name it O, GUI, GUI, let's just O-Draw GUI. I'm really indecisive when it comes to names. And let's make a draw event. So a draw GUI event. Make sure you click the GUI one. I don't remember, did the old Game Maker 1.4 have draw GUI? If not, then and you're following, you're gonna have to figure out the other way to implement the GUI. I think you have to draw like within a view or something. I don't even remember. But let's go ahead and do draw GUI. I don't remember because I've been using the beta too. I started on the beta and it's been quite a while. So we have our, actually I'm going to name this draw GUI controller. That's what I was missing. because we need to know this is one of those. What happened? Controller. Okay. We need to know that it's one of those controller objects. And let's give us 2 variables in the create event. So I create a create event, initialize. I'm gonna name it. Let's do fuel bar width equals 300 and fuel bar height equals 20. These are just the height and width of our bar that we're gonna have on the screen. Draw GUI is gonna be our description for the draw GUI event, and I'll go back to here. 3, 2, 1. Now we're in the draw GUI, and let's go ahead and check for if our player exists, because if our player dies or something in the game and this tries to run, it'll throw an error at us. So it's good to check for if our player exists before we initialize any code trying to get values from the player. And we're going to use the draw health bar, kind of a cool function that GameMaker includes. And we're going to use, for our first X value, 20. So 20 pixels from the left of the screen, 20 pixels from the top of the screen. So we're going to use 20, 20 for our XYs. And then let's use 20 for our Y2, 20 plus our fuel bar width. So that's going to actually give us our width from the left side of the fuel bar. And let's do 20 plus fuel bar height for the bottom of our fuel bar. And I'm gonna go ahead and press enter, and then we need to give it a percentage to have. So our percentage is gonna be oplayer.current fuel. I'm gonna have to maximize this for you guys. Sorry if you adjusted things. So we're gonna have to do in parentheses, make sure this is in parentheses, oplayer.current fuel divided by oplayer.max fuel, and we multiply that entire bracket by 100. Okay, so in parentheses, oplayer current fuel divided by oplayer max fuel times 100. And then we need to give it a background color. So when the fuel bar is depleting, what's the color behind it? Well, let's just go ahead and use C black, and let's give it a minimum color. So when it's depleting, what color are we going to give it? I'm just going to use C yellow for now. You can use whatever color you want. And a max color when it's maxed out. Fire is red, so I'm going to use C red. And then we give it a direction that the health bar is anchored at. So which way do you want it to decrease? We want it to decrease to the left. So 0 is to the left if you look in the documentation. You can press the middle mouse button on draw health bar, and it will open the documentation for that function. And we're going to show the back and show the border. That's fine. So I'm going to use true, comma true. And you can pause. 3, 2, 1. But we're missing something, obviously. Draw health bar. Am I missing a parenthesis somewhere? What am I doing wrong here? So, okay. I didn't put a comma after fuel bar height. Alrighty. And now we need to create our GUI object. Let's just do that inside of the game controller's initialize game controller script. So let's go back to that right here under game controller folder. And let's do it right under where we create our camera. Instance, create layer 0 global.main layer and draw GUI. Why is it not saving my name? I'm having issues with this today. I am confused as all be. Okay. Draw GUI controller. I guess I didn't hit enter. And let's run it, and hopefully it works. It's not working. Draw GUI controller, draw GUI. I used not instance exists. Y'all are yelling at me. Hopefully. So I'm taking out the exclamation mark there on the draw event. For some reason, I wasn't thinking. We need if the instance exists, not if the instance does not exist. And now you can see our fuel meter. Looking pretty cool. And you'll see this is what happens as we're falling. And this will give you better visualization of what your code's doing. So hopefully that helped. And I can't wait to get to the next video. And if you guys like this, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know your ideas for the game in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.